Take a look at a couple more of these Trump supporter TikTok things and see if we can actually get maybe a good coherent argument in favor of number 45. So let's see what we've got. That was not what I meant to click. Oh, there it is. Trump's parade versus Biden's parade. So Biden's parade is a bunch of... Wait. So Biden's parade is a bunch of people in golf carts. Okay. Versus...
Stop me, I'm all away. Kingdom. Yeah.
This song I have just been hearing a bunch.
Kingdom. Welcome to the...
So, wait, hold on. The argument goes, Trump is better because he has better parades on boats. That's the that's the substance. That's where we're at. So he shows a relatively safe parade of golf carts, which I don't even actually have any context for this. I don't know what this is specifically. Apparently this is considered a parade. But don't you miss when we actually judge presidential candidates not based on the size of their rallies or parades, but by the actual policies that they wanted to enact? Do you remember that? Just...
Nothing can stop me, I'm all away. Kingdom. Yeah.
Like, yay, he's got people in a parade. Okay. Sure. That's just really confusing to me when I see stuff like this, and there are people that think that this makes Trump look better. Like, having marches and having parades does not suddenly make a candidate look better. It doesn't make a candidate look worse either. So I just don't understand. But that's not the only one we have. We got a few to look at. So we got a Trump versus Biden TikTok here.
Do you support gay marriage?
No, Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage.
Ah, so we're pulling things that Biden said, what, a decade ago now? Doesn't matter whether or not they support it. It got legalized under their presidency. But I actually have pulled up over here. Not over here. That is the breaking news stuff. Where is my actual thing here? Aha! So, it is true that Biden did not support gay marriage at one point in time. This is true. However, he has changed since then. Mr. Biden's shifting views over the course of his political career illustrate the extent to which the Democratic Party has changed and has sought to keep pace with Americans, especially younger ones, who have dismissed traditional stances on issues like same-sex marriage. Biden has managed not only to keep pace with these evolving issues, but on same-sex marriage he was a step ahead of many of his fellow Democrats. This has been the case despite the nuances of his record over the past 50 years, his centrist politics in the party, and moving left with his age. Mr. Biden grew up in an era where homosexuality, the word routinely used at the time, was often viewed as a sin or even a crime. Every now and again, he can slip into those designations. He has repeatedly told a story recounting with variations on details of the moment of seeing two men kiss when he was a teenager and his father saying, "Joey, it's simple. They love each other." For all the criticisms we can give Biden, arguing his stance on gay marriage doesn't really work anymore. Like, again, in 1973, Biden had issues with homosexual people in the military. In 1973. Do you know when I was a homophobe? A little over 10 years ago. 11 years ago. I was. And look at the way my content works now. It is vehemently pro-LGBTQ. But that was not who I was 11 years ago. So, let us continue.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman.
I believe.
Okay, so we have another little clip here. Marriage is between a man and a woman. So, can anybody tell me an issue with what's going on right now? The first issue, to my recollection, or to my understanding here, is that this is quote mining. If there was any other context, that's being completely left out. Also, Obama, much like Biden, has had his stance change over time on LGBTQ issues. There's an entire Time article on this. But it does not mean that he's perfect, obviously. He's not. We're not here to celebrate Obama. The fact of the matter is, though, is that he did change his stance, just like Joe Biden changed his stance. That's what happens when you give people time. But if you want to keep using clips from before they changed their stances, then that's perfectly fine. Go right ahead. But don't expect anybody to take you seriously.
That marriage is
Of course, we have Hillary here.
not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman.
No, I'm all for guys.
And then, of course, we get to President Trump, which instead of showing, instead of just saying it's Trump, of course, it's my president.
I said like men, but it's just not my thing.
Right. You really
I
like
never really
women.
understood that.
What?
Wait. How is that pro-LGBTQ? Wait. The previous stances, while anti-LGBTQ, yes, were older stances that have simply been recanted later on. But in this one, those are WoW sound effects in the background, yes, because I'm going to be doing WoW after this. I'm literally right here, waiting for a Yojamba buff so that I can raid. But how is that one a pro-LGBTQ thing to be said? I've never really understood it. But what is there to understand? Two people love each other and sometimes they want to fuck. How that is no different, presumably, than how Trump would view a relationship. But this is supposed to be the pro-LGBTQ thing.
Guys that like guys.
Well, I think
Well,
it's
that's not
terrific
you.
if they're really into it, but, you know.
If they're really into it, that makes it sound like a fetish. Again, is that... How is this supposed to be a pro-gay thing that makes being gay sound like a fetish? And this has been a problem with stigmatization for years.
And if I were into it, I'd be into it, but I like women.
If I were to do it, I'd be into it. That's... Again, this just feels like treating gay people like they're a fetish. Okay, I guess I'll be invited into the raid group. I guess I shall be part of the raid.
my definite preference.
Now, which one?
I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
So if Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses?
That is correct.
Okay, at least those ones. Like, you managed two of them. You managed the part where he said he would do everything to protect LGBTQ citizens, except the... Wait, hold on. I seem to remember there's a T there. Trans citizens. And what has Trump done for trans people? Oh, yeah, he kicked them out of the fucking military. Right. Never mind. I'm sorry. I don't care about that one either. That one's not, like, a deep-rooted issue in and of itself. It's just a statement at a rally that doesn't coincide with a lot of the actions he ended up doing, where this is concerned.
You support gay marriage?
And that's the end of that. Okay, again, you took quote mine stuff from years ago, which is no longer relevant today, to argue against Democratic representatives who are now actually in favor of gay marriage, and then you used a fetishization of gay couplings as your first point in favor of Trump. That does not seem like it doesn't seem like that argument works the way you think it does. But apparently she thinks it does. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why you would do this. But then again, I've also tackled young Earth creationists on my channel. So I actually do understand where this comes from. And there is that little, like, idea that if you support Democrats, you support Obama and Biden and Hillary and all of them. But that's not really how things work. People are more nuanced than that. The last thing we got here on this wave of TikToks is this guy.
I'm really confused. It really seems to me that the people of this entire country have lost their fucking minds on what I'm about.
Yeah, they have lost their minds. In fact, actually, I would hope that me and this gentleman, Real Psycho, would agree that Americans have lost their minds. 71 million people voting for a fascist? That's America losing their minds. A whole bunch of people just sitting there basically Hassan modeling a cult under Trump for the last 4 years. Yeah, I'd say America's lost its mind. But I have a feeling that he's got a different idea of what America losing its mind looks like.
About to say may offend some of you, but I'm sick and tired of walking on eggshells worried about your feelings.
Man, I love this. I love this argument. This may offend some people, but I'm tired of walking on eggshells. That's victim mentality. That makes it seem like you've been tone policed for years. Which, no, not really.
I see signs of postings all over saying Black Lives Matter, and I'm just sitting here trying to figure out which Black Lives Matter.
All of them. Black lives. Like, their actual lives. Because the Black Lives Matter movement is about the higher representation of black lives in police killings. Like, Black Lives Matter, and the evidence that they are disproportionately represented in matters of police killings and police brutality. So, let's see how he tries to deflect this, because I feel like that's what he's going to do, given the All Lives Matter, Trump 2020, conservative, Blue Lives Matter, MAGA rant, Texas Real Talk, Patriot hashtags.
Because it certainly isn't all of them. It can't be the unborn black babies. They're killed without a second thought. It's not black.
Oh boy, the whataboutism. The unborn black babies. Do you understand? I would hope you understand, audience, but let's go ahead and pretend that he understands as well. I would hope that people like this understand that if you are going to be a husbandless mother, and you have a choice between being stuck in poverty with a child, or getting an education, getting a career, and then having a child at a later date when you have the ability to, that is a thing that allows you to better your life. The ability to save your time and have a child later as opposed to now. Those are good things. Those are good things for you to be able to do. You can argue that abortion is bad, whatever, I don't care, because it ends up being the lesser of two evils compared to people not having the ability to do what they need to do with their bodies in order to protect themselves, in order to be able to pursue careers and pursue education. So when somebody goes, look at all the unborn black babies, you don't give a fuck about the unborn black babies. You don't. Because you're arguing that it would be better that all women, and for the purpose of this argument, black women, be controlled. It would be better for them and their bodies to be controlled by your archaic notions of what is or isn't viable or legal or moral. And instead, better that if they are forced to have a child, that they have to deal with that child. They have to deal with the consequences of that child. Never mind if they were raped. Never mind if they're being forced under pressure. Never mind if they're in an abusive relationship and they just need to get out, and this would potentially tie them to the abuser for the rest of their lives. Never mind any of that. It is better that they be controlled. That's what happens here. That's why when somebody goes, which black lives? You didn't fucking care. You don't. You're just trying to win with a gotcha, and it's a cheap gotcha at that.
Black cops, they don't seem to matter. It's not
Black cops. Okay, so let me go and say this right now. If somebody is shooting you, the color of their skin does not matter anymore. They are shooting you. They are a threat. Also, I see that you have Blue Lives Matter here. If you believe that blue lives exist, which they don't, the blue thing, if you're a cop, that's a job, that's not your life. But if you believe the Blue Lives Matter thing, then you already agree with me, at least on some level, that whether or not the color of their skin is black has been superseded by the fact that they are blue. That stopped mattering at this point.
my black conservative friends. They're told to shut the fuck up if they know what's best for them.
Nobody says shut the fuck up if you know what's best for you. Nobody sits there as part of a mafia. Better shut the fuck up if you know what's best for you. Oh, I see. You're trying to do a racism. All me and my homies hate racisms. Stop trying to do racisms in my neighborhood. Stop it. That doesn't fucking happen. So, when I see shit like this, it honestly makes me cringe. Because it's not that somebody's sitting there telling you, oh boy, if you try to do this, you're going to regret it. No. It's more that they're going, you do understand that my perspective and your perspective are going to be different. And the solution to my perspective doesn't hurt your perspective, but the solution from your perspective hurts mine. As an example, let's say that I were in a low-income neighborhood. I'm not in really a neighborhood at this point. I'm in the goddamn woods, but let's say that I was in a low-income neighborhood like I grew up. And someone tried to argue, let's police those areas more. Okay. Except over-policing is one of the reasons why you get people in those areas that are shot. A solution, then, would be to try to bring in an education fund into that area. Try to get some people to focus more on educating themselves. Give them the ability to. And you go, no, that would cost way too much money. Okay. Well, where's the money coming from the cop that you're throwing in there? It's okay for you to throw a couple extra guns to police this area, but it's not okay for you to support better education when education in low-income areas is generally harder to come by in as good of a quality because property taxes from low-income areas are the things that fund schools. This is the thing when you get solutions from both sides. One solution ends up harming the other side, and then another solution doesn't harm the other one, but these two things are seen as opposite of one another in some way. The difference between let's police this area harder versus let's try to pull this area up out of poverty. Not by gentrifying it, which just makes everybody move and go to another low-income area, but by actually trying to build the community up to be something better. Let's not do that. No, let's police it more. Sorry, these types of anti-BLM positions confuse me because they don't seem to actually be congruent with any type of solution.
It's not black business owners. Their property doesn't mean anything. It's not blacks who fought.
No, their property does mean something, but there is this thing called collateral damage. If a protest turns into a riot, which, oh, by the way, most of the time when that happens, it's because the police got violent first, and we have statistics on that now. 93% of BLM protests were completely and totally safe. 7% of them were violent. 5% of all protests were turned violent because of outside forces like the police, leaving only a measly 2%. You're arguing about a measly 2%, which granted, every single one of those businesses that gets destroyed is an issue. But again, generally speaking, I'm not seeing as much of that. So when I see arguments like this, like I said before, I end up just being confused because this seems like a way to just throw everything back to the status quo. Make everything just fine. Get a gotcha. Because when you get that gotcha, everything stops. All the bad things stop. But they don't stop. They stop for you. Your perception of them stops. But the reality that people who support BLM are faced with doesn't change. Why not, instead of trying to, let's do things like police them's people who needs policing, why don't we try to fix these issues? And when we fix these issues, figure out what the problem is at their core, work on them. This is why when I said, yes, celebrate the fact that we have Biden, but don't let that be where it begins, or don't let that be where it ends, this is because I'm not concerned with band-aiding the issue so it just goes away. Because once Trump is gone and out of office, a majority of the damage that he was able to cause slowly starts to evaporate with him. But every single fucking problem that was there that allowed him to get into office is still there. Our country still has all those things. Instead of sitting here and trying to do your gotchas, why not try to actually think of solutions? Look at somebody who is a BLM supporter and ask, hey, why are you a BLM supporter? Try to figure out why, and then go, okay, is there a way we can fix these things? And is there a way we can fix these things that doesn't hurt other people? Or at the very least, creates a net positive for any damage that it causes? People want to sit here and argue against BLM protesters, but they never want to actually look for a solution. They just want to look for a band-aid to try to make things as close to the reality that they were in 10 minutes ago than actually trying to fix anything.
The military, their statues are being destroyed by protesters.
So this one is interesting. The statues being destroyed by protesters. I don't give a fuck about Confederate statues. And if you're going to try to tell me, I have stomach acid coming up. But if you're going to try to tell me that a statue is more important than a life, the lives of these people didn't matter because you destroyed their statues. Bullshit. That's like me saying my life doesn't matter to you because you unsubscribed. No, that's not how that fucking works. Somebody's life is not inextricably tied to that goddamn statue.
Tell me again, which Black Lives Matter? I just can't keep up with all this shit. 2 months ago, first responders were all the rage. In fact, they were heroes. We gave them free coffee, meals, cheers as they drove by. Today,
first responders are still all the rage because first responders includes people like firefighters, like paramedics. So it's not just trying to sit here and argue against BLM because, oh, they don't like first responders. No, we still like first responders. I still have respect for law enforcement. Not necessarily our police force as it currently exists, but people who want to get engaged in law enforcement, who want to try to make their areas a better place, people who legitimately believe they're going to be able to do that, fine. People who go in for the power trip, not so much. And the police force as it currently exists, definitely not. But this argument here, which Black Lives Matter? It can't be these ones. It can't be these ones. This is just a whole bunch of fucking gotchas. This is an attempt to have a series of Tukokwe fallacies, a series of whataboutisms. What about these Black lives? What about these Black lives? What about these Black lives? You're arguing against the name of the organization. This is a thing I have seen repeatedly. People arguing with the name of an organization and not actually arguing with its merits or its substance or its reasoning. This is the pettiest shit you can do, is argue against a name. But I think that's about all for TikToks for the time being. We will return to some more of these a little bit later. For now, it's raid time.